So I just played through the entire early portion of Red Dead Redemption on the Nintendo Switch, and I want to share both the good and bad impressions I've gotten from the gameplay so far. And to kind of set the table here, Red Dead Redemption is a true classic game from the Xbox 360 and PS3 era. It sits at a 95 on Metacritic for both of those consoles, with 96 critic reviews on the Xbox 360 version. And while I am someone who has not been able to enjoy this game during its original release, I am personally very excited to see it come to the Nintendo Switch, a hybrid console where you can play this classic game on the go or at home docked. But you may realize that if you are somebody who has played this game on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, that there are other avenues to play it with backwards compatibility. For example, on the Xbox today, you could argue that you really don't need a re-release of this game, and it is being sold at a $50 price point. And while there have been small texture adjustments and lighting adjustments, and things do tend to look more crisp and better overall on this new port of the game, it is still very much the same original version at its core, and it's even missing the multiplayer functionality, which is definitely a big deal for some if you have nostalgia for that gameplay mode and you wanted to hop into that today. But as somebody who is enjoying their very first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption on the Nintendo Switch for the first time, there are some both very good things and bad things that stick out that I want to talk about. Now, full transparency, I haven't had a ton of time to go deep into a playthrough of this game yet, but the opening hours of the game have been very enjoyable for me. I will say that as somebody who has gotten more and more used to playing modern games with modern controls, the controls do stick out as kind of a sore point, considering that since Rockstar is releasing this thing at $50, you think that maybe they could have reworked some of the control schemes. Just, it feels like that Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era game, and sometimes when you're controlling your character and making tight turns, it's just not as responsive as you would like to see it be in 2023. That said, it is not a game-breaking drawback by any means, and right out of the gate, the game does a good job kind of setting the tone and expectation for what's going to go on. It opens up with something of a tutorial, but it's also right into gameplay past the opening cutscene, and it does a good job of balancing the gameplay sections in addition to providing some backstory, and you know who you're going after and who the quote-unquote bad guy is in this story relatively early. The cutscenes don't look graphically impressive by any stretch of the imagination, but honestly, on the Nintendo Switch, if you're used to other Switch games primarily, this holds up just fine. There is definitely a path to follow within this game, but you have plenty of freedom to go and explore and do all of the side content to your heart's content before you decide to progress any of the main story forward. You make contacts with various different NPCs as the game unfolds, and they do a good job of establishing their relationship with John Marston, who is you. When it comes to the overall gameplay experience on the Nintendo Switch, outside of that controls complaint that I made briefly, it really does play well. You have options to crouch down and sneak up on people, you can run fairly easily, although stopping on a dime is not a thing. You definitely have a momentum where your character needs to kind of slow down. You can take cover behind rocks or really anything in the environment that would provide you a shield from oncoming gunfire, and that's where a lot of the combat in this game is focused around, is guns. You will have various different rifles that you can unlock and purchase throughout the game. You can loot bodies once you shoot them. You'll sometimes find cash, ammo, and various different resources that you can then turn around and buy additional firearms or things at a general store or medicine, you name it. There's also a very cool honor system, which I am not sure entirely how this ties into the story or how the events unfold in the game, but essentially if you go around slaughtering civilians, which you very much can do, you are going to lose honor points and people won't trust you near as much. And if you do the noble thing like fight off somebody who's randomly attacking a civilian and you kill that person, then you're actually going to gain honor points and your reputation and fame will scale with that accordingly. There are also various different costumes you can unlock within the game, which I think is a nice touch. If you are a fan of achievements, they are baked straight into the menu system within this game, which is really nice to see. Of course, Nintendo has no type of system level achievement system, so you can't see them as part of your Nintendo Switch Online profile or anything like that, but they are at least in the menu, so you can try to go through and 100% this thing if you so desire. The world map is very large from what I can gather. It seems like you definitely have plenty of area to explore. It is nice that you really have freedom to go in any direction you want at any given time. The horseback traversal is very nice and responsive, and while it took a little bit of getting used to in turning around tight corners and getting used to the trails and things, the game really does a good job through the entire opening of showing you all of the different mechanics and getting you more used to things, as you do have to race on your horse at one point early game and follow a trail of campfires, which kind of gets you used to that control mechanic. You can also use your guns on horseback seamlessly, and it honestly feels really good. There is something of a learning curve with the aiming system. It definitely feels like it's on the slower side. I'm not sure if that can be changed in the settings at all, but if you're somebody who's used to modern day first-person shooters, you're definitely going to be looking and aiming and turning quite a bit slower than maybe you're accustomed to. But as you progress and do more and more missions where you're taking out hordes of enemies, guys that are up to no good, working alongside with law enforcement at one point early in the game, the gun controls and aiming definitely do start to feel more natural. Now, I have not seen firsthand what graphics look like on the other systems in terms of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox release of this game, but I will say that on the Nintendo Switch, the graphics are absolutely what you would expect from an Xbox 360 or PS3 level game. I do think that they look really nice. They look very modern. It looks fantastic in handheld mode, especially on an OLED display. I also think that due to the release conditions and everything we mentioned before with the controversy around the state of this being a more simple port, the Nintendo Switch version makes more sense than just about any other version out there, especially considering that at the time of filming, I believe there is no PC port slated for release whatsoever, which means that if you want to take this thing on the go, a Steam Deck is not going to be an option. And that definitely makes the Nintendo Switch stand out in terms of additional functionality that you don't get on any other platform, and this is the perfect type of game to experience on the Switch. I definitely hope that we see more PS3, Xbox 360 era games make it to this platform, because it just makes too much sense not to do it. We have Batman Arkham Trilogy coming up as one of those collections. We may talk about that on the channel here as well. That is out later in October, but for now, Red Dead Redemption is a big win in my book, and I am personally having a ton of fun early game so far, and I do intend to play it to completion, and I would highly recommend the Nintendo Switch version to anyone out there. Now, the one drawback if you want to pull the trigger on this game right now is that it is currently a digital only option to pick up Red Dead Redemption on the Nintendo Switch. It will, however, see a physical release, but like we've seen in recent memory with more and more games, we are getting digital editions first, and we are seeing a physical release shipped later on, and we can expect the physical edition of Red Dead Redemption to come out on the Nintendo Switch on October 13th this year. So set your calendars for that. I'll link it in the Amazon via a link in the description down below in case if you would want to pre-order it. This is one that, depending on how much I enjoy the game when the credits roll, I may pick up physically for the collection as well, although I'll probably wait for a sale. Hopefully around the holiday season we may see a slight price decrease. If not, I think that by next year or the year after, you would naturally see this thing fall off a little bit in price, or you could pick it up on the used market for cheaper later on down the road. But if that's not important to you, you can legitimately hop into your eShop, spend $50, and enjoy Red Dead Redemption on the Nintendo Switch right now, which I am definitely enjoying myself and would very much recommend it to Nintendo Switch owners out there. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions around Red Dead Redemption so far, if you've played any of it from the old era Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 days, or if you're somebody who's maybe enjoying it for the first time like I am, and do you have any intentions to pick it up on the Nintendo Switch or other consoles? And are you looking to pick this up digitally or physically? Or are you someone who would have picked this up if it was a true up remaster, but since it is more just a touch up port job, you may be skipping it altogether? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.